All right, so this is Mike here with PricePlow. I am in Middlesex, New Jersey with Mark Glazier of NutraBio. And so we're going to do a whole plant facility tour here and everything. But Mark, today I wanted to say a lot of people in the general public are often state that the supplement industry is unregulated. And so you're just showing me here this like huge batch production record of just one batch here. And you're basically telling me that like this is the law. So what, is there a misconception out there, and like what do you really legally have to do with the supplement?
Yeah, there's a major misconception about what's regulated and not, and it all starts with every time a company gets in trouble in the news, the politicians and the media get involved, and they always, they have to make a big deal of it and make it worse than it is, and they always come out and say that our industry is unregulated. It's the wild, wild west. Companies can do whatever they want and nobody's watching it. And they always point back to this law that was passed back in 1994 called DSHEA, Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. And they say a couple politicians got together back then, put this together, and it completely deregulated the industry, and everything since then is just you can do what you want. And actually the opposite is true. That is a lie, but it always comes out every single time in the media. The DSHEA Act is the first law, the first regulation that ever came about and even defined what dietary supplement industry was. Prior to that, we could do whatever we want. There was drugs, and there were regulations for drugs. There was food, and there was regulation for food. And then there was dietary supplements stuck in the middle, and they weren't regulated. You can manufacture products in your basement, in your bathtub. Nobody cared, nobody watched. So the FDA started to get involved and said, hey, this is no good. And then rightfully so, they should have done it.
It was growing a lot at that time.
What they did was the wrong way. They said, okay, let's take dietary supplements and let's make it a drug. Well, that didn't make sense because it would have put our entire industry completely out of business overnight. We can't regulate our industry as a drug and try and do what they do. So that's when DSHEA came out. DSHEA was an act that said, okay, let's define what dietary supplements are. Let's create some laws and regulations behind dietary supplements. And within DSHEA, they defined what a dietary ingredient is, what are legal ingredients, what can we put in products, what can we put in products. They also, in the DSHEA Act, is where they put in GMPs. They weren't created yet, but that's where the government gave the FDA the power to create CFR 111 GMPs, which came about years later in 2008.
So this was a framework that eventually they added on the GMPs. What do GMPs stand for?
Yeah, exactly. GMP is good manufacturing, or cGMP.
Okay.
Current good manufacturing practice is actually the correct term. And those regulations were passed in 2008.
Okay,
and
so that's
here,
relatively recent.
Yeah, we've talked a lot over the last years about all the things we do in manufacturing here, and all, testing of ingredients, testing of finished products and all this, and everybody looks at me and says, oh wow, you're doing something different, that's great. No, it is the law.
You're following the law.
Yeah, we are following actually the law. The problem is, and the reason I say that media and politicians get it wrong is, because when they attack our industry and say it's unregulated, well, we can't regulate manufacturing anymore. The laws for CFR 111 come from CFR 211, which are pharmaceutical manufacturing regulations. And they are almost as strict, in some areas stricter than pharmaceutical manufacturing.
Really?
The laws are there, except the FDA has never been given the manpower, the funding, in order to follow through with it, to police it.
So it's not unregulated, but sometimes it may be slower on the enforcement kind of side. So what do you have to do? Let's say you want to run Intra-Blast, your intra-workout supplement. You want to make a run for it. What do you have to do? What goes into all this right here?
Okay, so this is a batch production record. This comes from something called a master manufacturing record. And a master manufacturing record is the recipe of what we're doing, how we're going to create this product.
The ingredients?
Every single ingredient, the formulation, the percentages, the equipment, the machinery, the processes, everything from start to finish. From that master manufacturing record, you create an exact duplicate called the batch production record. And this is the directions of what we're going to do to manufacture product. This is an actual batch for pre. In this particular document, it's going to show you everything, every single human being that came in contact with the entire production procedure. Every piece of machinery that was used, every single scale that was used.
Like down to the serial number.
Every single process, right down to the serial number of the machine. So when a company says, oh yeah, we have a product and it was produced wrong and we're missing this ingredient, but we don't know when it happened along the way, well that's not possible. Because I can tell you every single person, every single machine, every single ingredient, right down to the lot number, the batch number, the manufacturer, everything is right in this document.
So if they're saying oh, back in 2012 we had this issue, but we're not sure when it started, that's basically, it's either impossible or they were breaking the law and they're admitting to
according to CFR 111, that's not going to be possible because you would have this batch production record, and this batch production record which show you the exact detail of everything. Now what companies do, and not a lot, they have duplicate batch production records. The FDA has caught this, where they have the real batch production record that was on the floor, and then that gets scrambled, and then they create a secondary one after that. So there's all illegal crap out there, but that's not the industry as a whole. That's just like in any industry, you have scumbags out there that are just outright cheating.
But if you're doing this right, you're doing this for every single. This is like all this is one batch for.
This is one batch, okay?
Just one run of one flavor.
Just take a walk through it. You
One.
can see it's going to have every single sanitation log and cleaning log for every room that it went in, every process room, everybody who signed off on it, anybody who was involved in every single piece of machinery. The labels, the actual labels have to be copied on here. Now this is a digital copy. The original one is going to have a full color exact label.
Okay, yeah.
The stamping of what went on the label as far as expiration date and whatever right off the machinery is going to be on there. So you start with sanitation logs, and here is a batch of bomb. This is the materials that we're going to use, how they're pulled from the warehouse, who pulled them from the warehouse, the weights of everything that went from the warehouse.
Jeez,
this is a weighing log.
Wait, so they had to handwrite every single thing that they...
Yeah, it's computerized, but then as they're picking every single ingredient in the pharmacy room, in the weighing room, there have to be 2 people involved in there. They have to sign off, they have to fill in the lot number, the batch number of every single ingredient, the manufacturer of every single ingredient, and 2 people are watching this and signing off all along the way. There's no way for an ingredient to be
Well, how do I know those 2 people are properly trained, or is there...
As we do a tour of this facility, you're going to hear me talking about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Understand that everything I say is documented. When I say we're testing this, or this scale is this, or we're doing this process, it's all documented. It all has an SOP, a standard operating procedure. Every single procedure has to be written. Here they are.
That's the law.
These are my standing operating procedures for the company. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 binders of hundreds of operating procedures.
So
every single process is in there, and that's the law. I have to have those procedures. Now I have to have training of every single staff member who's trained on each one of these procedures. And I can't just say they're trained. I have to document the training, document the trainers of the trainees, when they were retrained. So if I go out and process in the blending room and I say, okay, this is the 2 people who are working here, there's got to be a log that they were trained, when they were trained, who trained them. So it's not just like saying, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing here.
Right.
It is all documented. When I say we weigh something, that scale is going to be documented right before we weigh it. That scale is going to have to be verified right before we use it, calibrated. And it's all documented. When I say we clean down this room, you'll be able to see the document of who cleaned the room, what product was in there before, who cleaned the room, and how they were trained to clean the room. It's every single aspect of the manufacturer product is in the batch production record.
And you're doing
every human being, every process, every piece of machinery, every ingredient is there right down to the slightest detail.
So let's say I'm Mike from the FDA. I come in. Mark, it's time for an audit. What's kind of like that process? Do they ask for all this documentation, or?
We've had 4 audits so far under GMP. One of our audits was 3 investigators, 3 weeks, 5 days a week. We're not talking about come in, walk around the facility for a GMP inspection. We're talking about a hardcore inspection. What they'll do is just one part of it is they will get a list of every production run that we've run for the last whatever. They select 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever they want. And they will randomly pick 50 or 100 or whatever they want. And we will have to pull out these documents, the entire document, master manufacturer document, and batch production document, and they will go through this with a fine-tooth comb. And then they will ask for all the backup for every part of this. So if we use creatine monohydrate, that's got to be tested. They'll want to see all the testing results for the identity testing, the purity composition testing. They'll want to see all of that, and they'll take it right through to the end. So they will spend, last time, probably about 4 days just on investigating these documents.
Okay.
And they randomly pick, last time I think they picked about 50 or 60 of them. I mean, it's a severe process if it's done right. What I said earlier about it being regulated, the FDA in their own admittance, I think, has only audited about 20% of the companies nationwide. So you have all these other companies that are, they have GMP logos on their products. That means nothing because nobody has ever trademarked the word GMP. You can put it on everything you want.
Really?
The FDA doesn't care about what you say or who certifies you. When they walk in, they don't want to see your certifications. They don't want to see anything. All they want to do is like the IRS coming in. They're auditing you. They want to see all your documentation, make sure you're doing it right. And when the FDA comes in here, and I agree with the FDA, I think CFR 111 is a phenomenal set of regulations that protects the consumer, and it lets us track everything we do. So when we talk about all this stuff, it's actually the law. When we're going to walk through the facility and we're going to see what we do here. When we talk about bringing ingredients into our facility and identifying every single one, proving that ingredient is what it is, proving the potency, the purity of that before it's even allowed in the facility. That sounds great, but it's actually the law.
You're not doing anything like special. This
Exactly.
is what everyone's supposed to be doing.
We're doing the law. We
All
say
right.
we're testing finished products and we're testing blends and we're doing it. It's the law.
Right.
We have to do this stuff. We do it, and we've always done it. We did most of this before CFR 111. Our first audit was under CFR 211, which is pharmaceutical, because we had products that were in hospitals.
Ooh.
So we kind of got audited. We were told, I'm not sure if it's true, we were the first company in New Jersey to be audited under CFR 111 because of our audit under CFR 211. So we've had 4 audits under GMPs. We've been audited for dairy facility, because we're a protein facility, under environmental laws, where they came in here and took 1,000 different swabs of every piece of machinery to see if there was any salmonella.
Oh,
we've
okay.
even had an audit in the criminal division, where one of our suppliers was ripping off the consumers $50 million worth of bad raw material. And the FDA came in here and did a full investigation of everything we ever bought. They watched every document, saw we tested every single material. We rejected every single material that did not pass specification, and we were protected by it. So that's what these laws do. They protect the consumer, they protect the manufacturer.
Right.
The big problem that we all are worried about, and the hardest part about this, is GMPs are only for the manufacturer of the finished product, whether the manufacturer, packager, store it, or label it. Those are the ones that have to follow this. The raw ingredients manufacturers have no GMPs.
And that's why you got to test everything
It all
that's coming
comes
in.
down to me.
Right.
So you can get stuff in from China, from anywhere. You know, it doesn't matter where it comes from. And once it comes into this facility, I have to make sure it's exactly what it's supposed to be. Otherwise, it's GIGO, garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
My label can say I have something in it. I didn't test it. I might have done the best job I could, but it's not in there. So I have to make sure every single ingredient is exactly what it's supposed to be before it goes in the product. And that's what cGMP is.
Gotcha.
Part of it.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah.
So you can learn more on their website at NutraBio.com, and you can also compare prices on PricePlow.com/NutraBio, where we have coupons and everything. But obviously, I think as we're going to see today, this is a brand you can trust, and today we're going to learn why. So thank you.